Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp. Got a special guest this weekend, Steve King, former walk-on at Mississippi State, Woodham High graduate, Major League Baseball draft pick. Steve, thanks for joining the show today.
Glad to be here with you, Paul.
Man, we're gonna have a blast. I want to start at the very beginning. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up here? I know you went to Woodham High School and with Greg Litton and played, and we'll talk about those times. But talk about growing up. Talk about your mom and dad and any siblings that you had.
So I did grow up in Pensacola, Florida, but we moved here when I was about 6 years old, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm a huge Go Pack Go. I'm a huge Packer fan. You have to be in our family, otherwise you're not part of the family. But moved down here, and up there, you didn't really play baseball. You know, there wasn't a big deal up there, right? It was more of a winter place, and it was so dang cold. It was cold even during the summer. But when I came down here, and then I played my first game. I missed the T-ball, and I missed all that. I played my first game like when I was 8. I went, and that was the beginning of my love for baseball. I mean, that was what all I wanted to do was play baseball. My mom and dad were. My dad was an ex-Air Force guy, tough guy. Hardcore, tough guy. I had 3 older sisters. It was, we grew up in, didn't have a lot of things, but we had enough, right? We got by. I remember I won a raffle in, what was the name of the, sporting goods store here in Pensacola.
Oh yeah, Biggs Sporting Goods.
Yeah, Biggs. Yeah, I won like a $150 raffle. I thought I got me a new pair of cleats and a new glove, and I thought I still have that glove today and those cleats. But I grew up, and then I could always throw stuff hard. I could just throw. I was God-given. I always tell people, I go, hey, Steve, can you help coach my kid to be a pro ball player like you? I said, you know what? I said, 80% of it is just natural God-given ability. And the other 20% is what makes a difference. But you got to have that first 80%. And I said,
wow. So your sisters, so you were the youngest of 4, but you had 3 older sisters. Were any of them athletes or?
Nope, not really. Cheerleaders and, not much. No, not a cheerleader. And then, no, they weren't athletic at all. My dad was a good, nice athlete. He could, He caught me until I was 12 years old, and he said, "You throw too hard, I'm not going to catch for you anymore." So I threw up against a fence.
So where did you play Little League, and how did you meet Greg Litton? Because he ended up being your high school teammate, and should have been. We'll talk about that story. Should have been your college teammate. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
But talk about your high school coach, and your high school team, and growing up, and I guess you started your love of baseball when you started at 8 years old. You loved it, right?
At 8 years old, Brent was the ballpark. I think it's still around, I believe.
Yeah.
Brent Ballpark, and I grew up there. And I remember, I was 9 years old. I was supposed to pitch the game. It was the first game of the season. My mom. We only had one car. My mom was taking it that day, and she was late. Picking me up. I was waiting outside for her. She takes me. I'm bawling, crying because I'm late. I'm going to be 15, 20 minutes late. I said, oh, coach is going to, they're going to do. And I ended up being like right about 10 to 15 minutes. I run out of the car and I run to the thing. And coach goes, and I was crying. I thought I was going to get, in so much trouble. And They go, Stevie's here. We can start the game now. And I went, yeah, something's a little different here about me. That's when you kind of go, okay, I'm like, and I remember that feeling of, that's pretty cool. And so they waited for me to start the game. And but I grew up in Brent, and when I was 13, Greg was 12. Greg moved up here from Panama, the Panama Canal Zone. Greg was he was adopted by his mom and dad, Mr. Litton, and I. He was who his dad was. He was a great guy. But Greg, he didn't know a lot of people, and I kind of hit it off. I remember I was playing against him, and I was like, oh, man, who's this guy? I'm like, going, who's this guy being able to hit the ball off me like this? I'm like going, and at first we were kind of combative a little bit, but then we became best friends. And we started working out I don't know if you know the whole Greg Litton history on and going into 9th grade. He actually got cut. He didn't make the team in his 9th grade year.
Wow.
And he and I said, let's work out together. He was a little, heavy and on the bottom side, but he had the best hands I've ever seen in my life, and one of the best hitters I've ever seen in my life. And
wow.
we became best friends. We worked out every day after school, and he's a hardworking guy, and he became again, we're to this day we're best friends. So
wow. Yeah, high school is nothing like it. I interview a lot of pro and college guys, and they always say high school is even myself. I played at all the levels. High school is still the most endearing because you grow up. Yeah, you grow up with those guys. All right. Tell the story about you guys. High school had a good year. You guys had a lot of great ball players, some all-state ball players, and then you decide where to go to college. And you actually walked on at Mississippi State. But Greg, tell the story about walking on, and tell the story about Greggy supposed to go to Mississippi State and play shortstop.
I will do.
And what happened in the World Series?
Yeah, to go back to your one statement, we always say in high school and college, you play for the name on the front, which is Mississippi State. When you go to pro ball, you play for the name on the back, right? Yeah. Because it's all about it's about making a living at your job at that point, right? And so so I love the years, the high school and college years. I mean, they're still my best memories, right? And played a lot of years in pro ball, but it was like still my best memories from my high school and college. High school, we had some great, me and Greg Litton and Tim Sauceman, still to this day, best friends. And in fact, Tim's coming in town because Greg and I and him are going to have a little one night boondoggle somewhere. We're going to go out and have a good time together.
Oh, cool.
Have fun. But we played together on that team with Woodham. Our coach we had football coaches every year. We never really had a baseball coach. It was more, we were a football school. So, I mean, we had amazing athletes. We had some unbelievable athletes, some other guys other than that. But I mean, all three of us made it to the pro ball. We never even won a district tournament or anything like that. But we didn't. We were one day we got in trouble. Tim and I and Greg, coach, we were not going to play that first game. It was one of these little mini tournaments. We go out into the batting cage and we start throwing. And all of a sudden, one thing led to another, and we're throwing the balls at each other, trying to hit each other. We're running around the batting cage. All three of us got kicked out of the umps came over and said, "You guys are out of here." I'm like, going, "Well, we're not playing right now. We're just talking." He went, "Get out of the stadium for a day."
Oh my God!
But we had a great time, and so I actually injured myself pretty bad in my senior year. I had a stress fracture on my elbow, and the doctor said, "I don't know if you'll ever pitch again, Steve." Wow! And I didn't. I threw 2 games my senior year, and I still had pain. So I said, "I'm not going to do anything." I decided to. I was a really good student. I was a really strong student. So it helped me actually get that mentality of I'm going to college. I'm going to get a degree because you know what? Everybody that loved me, 6 months ago won't talk to me anymore. But Coach Polk at Mississippi State, he said, "Steve, I'll give you." I got like a small piece from him, and he said, "I'm going to help you get an academic scholarship too." And so I got enough to at least play and try out for the team. I walk out there. And my elbow, I started throwing. I was almost like in tears because I'm like, my elbow's going to hurt. Because I hadn't thrown for 4 months, and I just went out and started playing catch with one of the guys. And I never had another pain in that spot on my elbow. I never. Wow. It completely gone. And
what a story, man! Walking on at Mississippi State and the great Ron Polk. We're going to talk about him, and we're going to talk about him and your teammates, Will Clark and Palmer and all those guys. But tell the story about Greggy supposedly going to Mississippi State and you guys going to the World Series and you come into the game late in the game with a 1-run lead, bases loaded. Talk about and then what happened.
So 1984, we were looking for a shortstop for the 85 season, right? We were just finishing up 84. We're in fall practice, and I go up to Coach Polk. I said, knowing we struggled trying to find that perfect fit, and I said, I've got one of my best friends. In fact, Greg's father went to college. He played at Mississippi State in the late 50s, early 60s. He played at Mississippi State.
Oh, Greg's dad played at Mississippi State?
Greg's dad, right? Yes. Oh, wow. He played at Mississippi State. And so that, you get, that special, whatever it is when he would be a legacy player. And we went down. I said, "Come on, we were going to Pensacola to play in a couple of little tournament games." And I said, "I'll get Greg, and you can watch him play." And he goes, "All right, sure." And he ended up loving him. He loved him, and he said, "All right." And he said, we're going to go ahead and bring you up to a game. Hopefully you're going to sign after that game, and come on to Mississippi. Well, Squeaky Parker, who was the scout for the Giants, was good friends with Ron Polk, and he was also trying to get Greg Litton in the junior college draft, in the winter draft. And Greg comes up there. Squeaky all of a sudden magically appears at Mississippi State, and Greg had decided to go ahead and sign with San Francisco and move forward with his pro career, which, I can't blame him, but I do blame him because I am still
because of what happened later. Tell what happened.
So next year we didn't get Greg. 85. He was a nice shortstop. He was good, but he wasn't Greg Litton. Right. But he was a nice shortstop. And we went ahead and played with it. I had a great year. I won the SEC championship game. I had a great career, great year that year. We go into the College World Series. We had the best team. We were actually we actually got in 2015 during a football game with Arkansas. We were all given these special bats, and we were recognized as the best college baseball team in history for that year. And so we had an amazing team. But here we go. We're 2 games up. We're 2 games up. We're playing UT Texas, who's a good ball club. Gene Morgan is pitching. 4th inning, he gets a line drive back, hits him in the ankle. just knocks him down. I'm the next guy up. I was the long. We didn't really have like a 5th inning, a 6th inning, a 7th inning like they do today. We kind of had. I was a long reliever. Bobby Thigpen was the closer, and we would switch roles a little bit back and forth. He and I would do it. And so I came in. Man on. It was actually men on first and second at this point. Men on first and second. Nobody out. We're up by 2 runs, and I come in, and all of a sudden, so the first guy, I strike out the first guy. So men on first and second, 1 out. Next guy comes up, hits a ground ball to my shortstop, and actually I should have said Bill Bates was running. He had during that before I struck him out, he got to third base. Billy Bates, man on first and third, and my shortstop, he goes, he gets the ball, and I look at him. I can see in his eyes. I go, turn 2, 2, 2, 2. I'm screaming at him. And he looks, and Billy Bates is running from third to home, and he takes it, and he throws the ball, and he throws it up into the backstop. I'm like,
oh no.
I'm like, oh, my God. So now I got men on second and third, 1 out, and I'm like, it's okay. We're going to get there. So we next guy, I walk because he was a good hitter. I kind of pitched him tight, walked him. I wanted to set up for a double play again. I threw a little slider, my best pitch, a slider, 2 hop to my shortstop. He goes down and it goes whoop, right through his legs. Men second and third scored. We're down by 1. I got the next guy out, and we ended up losing that. I pitched 1 more inning. We ended up losing 3. And but it was devastating. To this day, Greg Litton, if I take him to Mississippi State, if I take him into that and they see me and they see Greg Litton, they'll say, "Get him out of here! What is he doing? He's a traitor!" Because everybody blames us not winning the College World Series.
Poor Greg. Getting blamed for something he had nothing to do with.
It's 30 years ago, and people would still know who he is, who Greg Litton is.
Oh my gosh! Of course they do. He's a Major League Baseball player that would have handled those 2 runs and easily probably. Oh my gosh! Well. We record this during the week and we play it on Saturday morning, Steve. So, we can talk about Greggy all we want because this won't air till Saturday. But,
okay, good.
I can't wait till see you guys Friday night.
Yeah, he is turning 60.
60th birthday party.
I said, "How did you get to be 60?" And I'm only 42. And I'm like, actually, because I'm 10 months older than Greg, so.
It's like because you lie and he doesn't. That's why you're so much younger than him. All right. So what teammates did you have? Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro and
yes,
and oh my
Bobby
gosh.
Thigpen and Jeff Brantley.
Oh my
Jeff
gosh.
Brantley.
What did you learn from those guys? What kind of teammates were they? Was Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro thunder and lightning? Right?
Yeah.
Were they like the odd couple or were they different?
Well, Will is a raging Cajun, right? He had the biggest personality you can ever meet, and he would be, he's the best baseball player I've ever met. I mean, Raphael is the greatest hitter I've ever seen. Yeah. Will Clark is the greatest overall baseball player I've ever seen.
Wow.
Will didn't have to work at it. He didn't even. I mean, he was just so naturally gifted. He didn't work out a lot. He didn't do a lot of, he was just natural. He had a great arm. He was fast. He could, his hitting was unbelievable. He could bunt better than anybody you've ever seen. I'm like going, the guy could do basically anything, but, and wow. He was the team leader, but, he led in a very vocal way. And some guys get all bent out of shape a little bit, but Raphael was very quiet, very, very had a very, very soft spoken. He was actually, Raphael is a great artist. He can draw, and he wanted to be a architect. He said, but I mean, after his first, second year, he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to be a pro ball player. I don't need to be an architect. But but he was the best hitter I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, I would swear I just got a fastball by him on the inside half, and all of a sudden you go, and the ball would be gone. His hands are so quick.
Will had 61 career home runs. Raphael had 67 career home runs. Your coach, Ron Polk, 29 years at Mississippi State. He won 1,373 games. He actually wrote a book, and I bet you got it, but I would like to get a hold of it, the Baseball Playbook.
Oh,
which is actually a textbook, I understand, for 450 universities here. Ron Polk, talk about Coach Polk.
Coach Polk he's the most, he's pure baseball. That's all he is baseball, right? I mean, he taught us on so many different levels. He obviously taught us about baseball, but the thing he probably taught me the most of was the value of time. We never had most coaches would say, okay, we're going to have practice starting at 11 tomorrow, right? No. Coach Polk we're going to have practice starting at 11:13. And he goes, and he said that when he says 11:13, that means you are prepared on the field, ready to go at 11:13, not at 11:12 or 11:14. And he would literally, the bus would do the same thing. He'd say, we're going on we're going to LSU to play. Bus leaves at 9:43. And if you missed that bus, if you don't get there by 9:43, he would leave. He didn't care who it was.
Right.
He was going to leave. But we all know that if it was Raphael or Will, I never they but I had one of my really good friends, Will McCraney, was pitching that day. We actually were going to South Alabama to play, and he had to he got his buddy who had a car, and they followed the bus the whole way because Will was late. They caught up the bus and they followed it the rest of the way. It was like a 5-hour trip because Coach Polk would not pull over. But I mean, I tell you what, that in itself is an amazing thing to teach a college kid, right? I mean,
yes, promptness. Coach Bryant was the same way. There's stories. Matter of fact, I heard one not too recently that. Yeah, there was some players chasing the bus at the Alabama football bus as well. I think that's a lost discipline. I know it is nowadays, but promptness was one of the things that I learned from Coach Bryant that I practice today. Don't ever be late for anything. It shows you, that you don't care if you're late somewhere. You never want to do that. Wow.
He's one of the funniest men you've ever met, too. Is he? He has got that wry sense of humor. I remember my freshman year, I'd gotten a little sick and I was pretty ill, and I'm about 6'3", and I was really skinny during that time. And we had the end of year big festivity that we had, and it was a roast, right? He would roast every one of the players and tell about the year they had. And mine was, well, we finally found a position for King. We painted him yellow and put him in the left field for a foul pole. And that was, and I'm like, I was an 18-year-old kid, and I was so embarrassed that he said that to me. But you have to learn his sarcasm and his. I learned.
Oh man, Coach George O'Leary, my high school coach, was the same way, man. The first time I ever met him, he announced the team. He called a team meeting and made everybody stand up and say their name. And I stood up and said my name, and he said, "Oh, I heard you were a pretty good golfer," because I won the MVP my first 3 years in high school in golf. And he says, "I heard you're a pretty good golfer." He said, "I've never seen a good football player yet that was a good golfer." So the same kind of sense of humor. Well, all right. Well, give us what was some of the best pitching advice that maybe one of your pitching coaches in the minors or somebody gave you, but what is the best pitching advice you ever got? Might have been from Coach Polk or somebody else.
Well, and Coach Polk he let his coaches do a lot of the work, but they were always advised and told what to do by Coach Polk. He would talk not necessarily directly to us. He'd talk to the pitching coach who would give that. But they taught me, I threw hard. I threw 90, 96, 95, 96. I threw really hard, had great movement. I kind of threw from about 3/4. I had great movement, but my off speed or my slider and other stuff, we didn't have the spin rate and all the stuff you have today's world.
Right.
Well, what he taught me was finger pressure. I got to the point where I could move my thumb this way, and I could just do this, move that on my hand, my finger, and it looks exactly the same to a hitter. They can't tell because all I'm doing is doing this with my fingers. Right. And I learned to throw a slider. I had the nastiest slider, and I mean that helped me get very high. That was the reason I became a closer in pro ball and stuff, because I had a strikeout pitch that was just filthy. Guys couldn't see it. They go, King, I can't see it, because most guys pick up the either the arm slot or the finger. If they see the thumb here or this, they can tell, but they can't see. They can't see just my fingers like moving up and down like that. So, anyways, that's probably the best piece that really helped me get pretty high in pro ball.
Yeah, Steve, you had a great career. It's a great story, walking on and getting pro. You got drafted by the Montreal Expos in 1986. Talk about those first 2 years and tell the story of those first 2 years. And I want to hear all about the minors or what it was. And then you got out of baseball for 2 years and came back.
I did.
80, and then Burlington, Jamestown, and were your first 2 stops. And then off for 3 years, I think, 2 to 3 years. And then you went to Boise, Quad Cities, Midland, and Palm Springs. Talk about your first stint in pro ball, getting out of pro ball, and then how you got back in.
Yep. So my first year in when I got drafted in short season A ball, I actually got moved up. And so I remember I get there and I'm in it's whatever high season A, it's all the draftees, right? And I kind of go, man, I'm going to blow through this. I said, I've never seen a big leaguer before in my life pitch. I mean, like I said, we grew up, I didn't get to see anybody in person like that pitch and stuff. I said, man, I'm going to blow right through this, because I was going right through, mowing through that. They moved me up to somewhere in Iowa, Burlington. You said, I think maybe it was Burlington. I got moved up to Burlington. I was in A ball, right? It was low A at that point, and I kind of burnt and this is in a period of like 6 weeks. And then they moved me actually to Jacksonville for a little bit, and which was the Double-A team. And I really didn't get to pitch there, because I was right near the end of the season. They said, you know what, we're going to shut you down and we want you to go to the camp in the top 20 guys, and I was there. Randy Johnson was on our team. Larry Walker was there. I mean, we had some amazing big leaguers that came out of Montreal. But so I went down there for the winter, and RJ and I, Randy Johnson and myself, became really close friends. Watching him. He's like 6'10", I'm 6'3", and I said, let's go play golf. And so I tee off, and I go, you want to use my clubs? He says, yeah, I can hit him right-handed, and I said, all right, you can use it. And he looked like he was playing, Dorf. Remember? He was bent over. I was like, my clubs looked like it was like
he was using right-handed clubs.
Yeah, and first swing, I go, oh my God! I said he's probably going to hurt himself out here or something. He takes a swing so hard, and he hits the ball about 300. I mean, you didn't even see it, but it unfortunately went out. I think it went over the street, not into the street. I mean, it was way out there. But he and I played golf every other day. We got to play for free and stuff. But anyways, so then I go to spring training the next year, and my family, my mom and dad ended up splitting up, and my mom had some really, really, and if there's nothing in this world do I love more than my mom. And she's passed now, but she was going through some really hard times, and she needed her son. And I said, I'm coming home. I know it killed my baseball, maybe, a lot of my baseball career, but I walked out. I said, I got to go. My mom's got to go. They said, King, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I said, I got to go. And I stayed with my mom for about 2 years. And I said, Mom, I want to go back and play ball. And she goes, yes, you are. Absolutely, you are. And so she's strong and she was ready to go up, ready to handle it. So that's when I went back and I played at Boise, and the Angels bought my contract. The next year I played for about another 2.5 years after that. And then after that, I was 31 years old, 1992. I hurt my back. I got 2 compressed discs. To this day, it hurt. They still bother me at times. And I went from 96 to 92. I didn't have my nasty slider. And as you know, in baseball, 82% of us exit baseball due to injuries, right?
Right. Yeah, football is probably a little bit higher. Yeah. My gosh. I think you were 28-25 with a 3.22 ERA. That's not a bad ERA.
No, I led the entire Angels organization, who we had amazing pitchers in the big leagues, but I led the team in strikeouts 1 year in Quad Cities, I guess, and they moved me up to
what was your favorite town to live in, Steve?
Palm Springs, because I got to play free golf.
Is that when you and Randy played all the time?
No, that was when I was Randy. That was in West Palm Beach when we shared our field with the Braves, and so I got to meet Hank Aaron. I was sitting there and I was getting ready to go out and throw balls, and all of a sudden a hand came on my shoulder, and I'm like, I could tell he wasn't tall, but I looked over and I said, oh my God, that person has big hands. Who is this? I turned to my right, and Hank Aaron's sitting there looking at me. He goes, hi, son. How are you? My God. And I mean, my knees buckled. I'm like, I was like, because he's my favorite player ever. I loved Hank Aaron, and he's one of the nicest men you would ever have met. I mean,
is that one of the memorable moments? Talk about a couple of memorable moments.
Oh yeah,
that was one of them.
I called my mother and I said, Mom, you gotta send me all of because I had cards and balls and stuff, and I said, send it to me, Mr. Aaron. I mean, Hank. He said, make sure I call him Hank. And Hank told me he would sign a ball for me. So I was so excited that I was going to get to do that. I mean,
so you got your degree in computer engineering, is that right?
Computer engineering, and in the off seasons, I would get as much done as I could towards my MBA here at West Florida. And I mean, I've been very, very successful. In fact, at that same with the Expos, when we were all there was 20 of the top prospects for us for the Expos, and there was 42 coaches. And and it's a different time back then. It was a long time ago, right? I was the only one there with the college degree that had a college degree, because most of it, I mean, very, very few guys.
Holy cow!
We'd all this, and and then the thing is that, and so not once did one of the coaches call me Steve or King, or that my friends call me King, or no, they call me College Boy. Hey, College Boy. So if he went 1 for 3 today, what's that average? And if I didn't answer, I was running. I said 333. I would have to give them the answers. Okay, College Boy.
Man, so did you got into sales? I think did it help? Did it help you be competitive and competent? Your degree?
That I did. These were high-end technology sales to Fortune 500 companies, and in Houston, Texas is where I lived. I lived primarily into the oil and gas industry. Yeah. But I mean, these deals that I was selling them ERP, or this was software to run their businesses. Yeah. And these would be $10, $20 million deals. And I mean, they were huge deals. And they, so I would have the people, I had a very successful life after baseball. And one thing they go, King, how do you win these deals? I said, you know what? I get elevated. I'm able to elevate myself into the C-suite, into the CEO. I said, guess what they all want to talk about? Baseball. They all want to talk about baseball. Yep.
Relationships.
So, it was how I used
those relationships through baseball.
Yes, through baseball. And to me, it was the closest thing to being an athlete, is competing against, and they became my friends, my peers. I would go up against them. And if I lost a deal, I'd say, dude, let's go to the bar. I got to buy you a beer. I bought a beer. I said, boom, I got you on the next one, guy. I got you on the next one. And
I was in sales for 30 years, so I know exactly where you're coming from when you're talking about that, Steve. That's pretty amazing. Okay, really quick, the best manager you've already had. You already said Will Clark was maybe the best teammate. The best team you were ever on, the best teammate you ever had, and the best manager you ever played for.
I don't think anybody's going to know this name, Donnie Long. Donnie Long was my manager. He was with us in Quad Cities, actually. And he got promoted pretty quickly up the. He was the most intense human being I've ever seen, that I've ever met. And he was a big guy, you know. He's like 6'4" and about 250, and he was just solid rock muscle. Yeah. And he was a smart, but he was so intense. He would come out and he always had a chew in, and he would come out there and you had to look at him in the face while you're getting speckled with chewing tobacco, right? Oh, yeah. But he was so dedicated, and I mean, he would do whatever he needed to do to help one of his players. And I mean, I loved him. He was a great guy. He was intense. He helped you. You didn't mess around in his dugout. You were always focused and serious. And wow, I mean, it worked. I thought he was. I to this day, I mean, he had issues with his. When he played ball, throwing the ball away a little bit and stuff, and he'd get so angry at himself that he learned a lot and to help us to go through that same area. So best player, I played with some great, unbelievable players. I'm going to have to let me think about that one a little bit. You know what? I'll say Jimmy Edmonds. How about Jimmy Edmonds? Best outfielder, one of the best defensive player I've ever seen in my life. He's wow. You would throw a pitch, and pitchers in general, we'd throw a pitch and we kind of knew if somebody hit it hard or not, right? You'd see a fly ball, you'd turn around and you'd see your player, you'd catch him right as he was turning. When you throw the ball and it went to center field, wherever Jimmy Edmonds was playing in center field, normally was his best spot. You turn around, his back, all I saw was his back. He always knew exactly where the ball was going. I mean, he would turn his back and run and then turn his head back around and pick the ball up right there. I mean, he was the best outfielder, I think. I don't think there's been anybody. I don't even know if there's anybody even close to what he was.
Was Randy Johnson the best left-handed pitcher?
Most intimidating. I was in that same thing. Real quick, I'll get in the same thing in down in West Palm Beach. We were all learning something. I was learning how to throw a better slider. Some of the guys were learning how to throw spitballs from the old dudes, and they're trying to teach Randy how to drop down a little bit and become a little bit more intimidating because he's 6'10", right? Yeah. But and he throws. He was throwing 100. He was throwing 101 this day. It was 101 miles an hour, and the balls are going all over the place. And it was kind of one of those hazy days, kind of like at the beach, when it's hazy a little bit, and the ball, you could hit go, and you could hear it, spinning so fast. Yeah. And he was all over the place. And the umpire was behind a plate, and he threw a ball. It didn't even make it to the dirt. It hit above, and I got it at 101. It hit the grass, and it goes skip. It skipped, and it sounded like a shotgun went off. It hit the umpire's shin guard. All of a sudden, you just saw the umpire just goes. Ooh, he just falls over, and we all go. Everybody goes running up, knocked him out, knocked him flat out. Broke his shin guard and his shin. It broke his chin. So for the rest of that, the weeks, whenever Randy Johnson would go out, the umpires would call the balls and strikes from behind the mound. He threw it he was so intimidating. No way would I stand up there as a left-handed pitcher. He's like the Josh Hader of today's world, except put 8 miles an hour on your fastball and not really knowing where it's going to go at all times.
Oh my gosh. That's some good stuff. I heard a lot of stories about Randy Johnson, but yeah, man, great guy. That's awesome. Hey, Steve, man, thanks for taking the time to share your story with us.
Oh, I can always tell baseball stories.
Oh my gosh, what a blast! Since we're recording this earlier, we can get on Litton but we can't talk about the party Friday night, but we can talk about it now. He won't hear about it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, we're gonna celebrate Greg's 60th birthday again. One of my best friends. We got a bunch of people coming out, yourself included, Paul, and that's been a big part of his life. And in Pensacola, he stayed here the whole time. He's
awesome. I'll see you then, Steve. Thanks. All right, have a good one.
Take care.
Man, what a great story. Had some good stories about Randy Johnson, Greg Litton, and we'll celebrate Greg's 60th birthday Friday night as this will air Saturday morning. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. Stay tuned for these messages. Without these great sponsors, this just wouldn't be possible.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
So hard to get you in the perfect car. Looking for a better car buying experience? With the Step 1 Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step 1 supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step 1 Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Barnes Heating and Air is a proud sponsor of Alabama football, serving the entire Pensacola community for over 50 years. Barnes Heating and Air is passionate about providing customers with world-class air conditioning and heating repairs, sales, and installation. Barnes Heating and Air is family-owned, insured, and committed to quality. For a free estimate, call 478-0141. Barnes Heating and Air is #1 in customer service with service calls 7 days a week. Call Barnes Heating and Air, 478-0141, and